Imagine a war that completely flipped the world order on its head, a conflict where a rising Asian nation took on a massive European empire and won. This isn't fiction, this is the story of the Russo-Japanese War of 1904 to 1905, a conflict that permanently changed global politics. So how did this all start? Picture the late 19th century. Both Japan and Russia were hungry for power in East Asia. They had their eyes on the same prizes, Korea and parts of Manchuria. Japan, after the Meiji Restoration, had transformed itself at lightning speed. It now boasted a modern, disciplined army and a powerful navy, modeled after the best in the West. Russia, on the other hand, was a sprawling giant. It wanted warm water ports for its navy and more territory. But it had a huge weakness. Its supply lines stretched thousands of miles across the massive Eurasian landmass. Tensions mounted and diplomatic talks went nowhere. Seeing an opportunity, Japan decided to make a bold move. On the night of February 8, 1904, without a formal declaration of war, Japanese torpedo boats launched a surprise attack on the Russian fleet anchored at Port Arthur. Several Russian warships were crippled before they even knew what was happening. This single act gave Japan a crucial early advantage, and they never let it go. With the Russian fleet bottled up, Japanese forces landed in Korea and immediately pushed north into Manchuria. What followed was a series of stunning victories. At the Battle of the Yalu River, Japan proved its army could go toe-to-toe with a European power and win. Then came the Battle of Liaoyang, forcing another Russian retreat. The fighting escalated, culminating in the massive Battle of Mukden. This was one of the largest land battles the world had ever seen, involving over 500,000 soldiers. After weeks of brutal fighting, Japan emerged victorious once again. Russia's biggest problem was logistics. Reinforcements and supplies had to travel along the single-track Trans-Siberian Railway, a journey that took weeks. They were fighting a war thousands of miles from their industrial heartland, and it was showing. But the final crushing blow came at sea. In a desperate gamble, Russia dispatched its Baltic fleet on an epic 8-month journey, sailing all the way around Africa and Asia to confront the Japanese navy. By the time they arrived in the Strait of Tsushima, the Russian sailors were exhausted. Their ships were in poor condition, and their command was a mess. The Japanese fleet, led by the brilliant Admiral Togo Heihachiro, was waiting. They were well rested, well drilled, and fighting in their home waters. What followed was the Battle of Tsushima, one of the most decisive naval battles in history. In less than 2 days, the Japanese Navy annihilated the Russian fleet. Nearly every Russian battleship was sunk or captured. It was a complete and utter catastrophe for Russia. After the disaster at Tsushima, Russia had no realistic way to continue the fight. The war officially ended with the Treaty of Portsmouth, with US President Theodore Roosevelt acting as the mediator. The terms were a clear win for Japan. It gained control over Korea, expanded its influence in Manchuria, and took possession of the southern half of Sakhalin Island. For Russia, the defeat was a profound national humiliation. It exposed the weakness of the Tsarist regime and became a major catalyst for the Russian Revolution of 1905. For Japan, the victory was a moment of national triumph. It announced Japan's arrival on the world stage as a major power, the first modern Asian nation to defeat a European empire. The Russo-Japanese War shattered the myth of Western invincibility and reshaped the balance of power in Asia forever. A relatively short war, but one with consequences that are still felt to this day. Thanks for watching. If you found this story fascinating, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more deep dives into history. See you in the next one.